Some say that government on every level, and that included you at the time, couldn't even handle the wrath of Hurricane Katrina. Why should Americans feel confident that we can deal with something like this on an even larger scale?
They shouldn't feel confident that we can. People sit down and talk and they plan out how they would respond to a disaster. But a disaster of this magnitude, the big one in California or a tsunami off the Washington-Oregon coast, is going to overwhelm any system or any plan that you have in place.
Are there any nuclear plants close to the coast there that would be of concern the way it has been in Japan?
I don't think so that I recall in the Washington-Oregon area. Now, there will be some down in California. There are some in North Carolina, which may not be, subject to a tsunami, but, in Katrina, we had 30-foot storm surges. And a 30-foot wall of water, whether it's a tsunami or a hurricane storm surge, is incredibly powerful and will destroy most anything in its path. The difference is that I think we have more redundant systems. The Japanese only had 2 redundant systems for getting the water or the ionized water to these coolant towers, and both of those systems went out. There are, for example, gravity systems that you don't need electrical power to get the coolant in there. And many of the plants we have in this country are based on that kind of system.
Did any of the upgrades come because of 9/11? How did this come about?
It's funny because after 9/11, we were asked to look at the Indian Point nuclear power plant just north of New York City in Westchester County. And everyone was fearful of, hijackers taking a 757 or a 777 into one of those cooling towers. And so working with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, we looked at it, we modeled it, and those planes will simply disintegrate if they hit the cooling towers. They might cause some damage to the towers, but I'm more concerned about a terrorist gaining access to the interior of the plant where they could cause a meltdown.
Is there anything we can do better in preparation for the big disaster like Japan is having now?
Oh, absolutely. But people aren't going to like my answer. And that answer is this. Individuals, families, folks living in, whether it's a couple in an apartment, those individuals have to be prepared. And they have to understand that it may be 72 hours before a military force, a rescue team, a police department, a firefighter can get to them. And they ought to be ready and willing and able to survive on their own for at least 72 hours, have a plan for how to get out of a disaster area, be able to take care of yourself. If we could get that culture inculcated in people in this country, we would be 1,000% better off.